Fiddler has always been very useful for helping us troubleshoot problems and watch conversations between our browsers and servers. But in the past, we hit a brick wall when we used sites that needed to encrypt traffic using SSL, and the tools we wanted to use, including the older versions of Fiddler, could not see that traffic. So all the advantages we had before suddenly disappeared. Now Fiddler's got the ability to decrypt SSL traffic. So again, the purpose of SSL, Secure Sockets Layer, is to encrypt traffic so it can't be read by tools like Fiddler or network monitors, so that while it's being transmitted over the internet, people are not intercepting it and reading things we don't want them to see, such as our credit card numbers. How does Fiddler do this? Well, it acts as a man in the middle. So what Fiddler does is it creates its own SSL certificate. So in a normal SSL conversation, the server in this situation would install an SSL certificate that it uses to encrypt the traffic between the browser and the server. What Fiddler does is it creates its own SSL certificate and presents that to the browser as if it was the web server certificate. The browser then sends the traffic encrypted using that SSL certificate, which Fiddler is able to decrypt. So it encrypts it on the browser, sends it, Fiddler takes it, decrypts it, then Fiddler goes out to the real web server, gets its SSL certificate, re-encrypts the information, and sends it off to the web server. So by doing this, Fiddler is able to sit in the middle, do the decryption, and then re-encrypt. It's off by default. You turn it on with Fiddler options, and you go into the HTTPS tab and say you want to decrypt HTTPS traffic. At that point, Fiddler is going to create its own SSL certificate. Let's take a look at an example of some secure traffic using SSL. So I've got my local website set up with a secure folder. With that secure folder, I generated my own self-signed certificate. I then set IIS to require SSL for that folder. I'm not going to spend the time in this to go through how you configure SSL with IIS, but if we were to check our Fiddler for this request, so you can see the content just fine. If we look in Fiddler, however, you'll see that all we can see is a tunnel, because it's created an SSL tunnel and the browser is encrypting the traffic back and forth to the server. So Fiddler by default is not able to view that traffic to see what goes on in that conversation. Now let's take a look at how we can configure Fiddler so we can watch SSL traffic. So if I go to Tools, Fiddler Options to the HTTPS tab, we'll see that I can choose to decrypt HTTPS traffic, and I get a warning that says there is now Fiddler has generated a certificate, and it wants to know if we want to trust that Fiddler root certificate. We will say yes. It warns us once again we're about to install this, so we will say yes, we want to install this. So what we're doing now is Fiddler has created its SSL certificate on my machine locally. Now I'm saying it's okay for my browser to trust this certificate. Fiddler makes unique SSL certs per machine, so I'm just telling it it's okay for my browser to trust that this is a valid certificate. Now I will hit OK. We'll go back to our browser. We'll make that same request, and you'll see I got the same result, but now as I click, I'm able to see both the original request that was made as well as the response that came back. So as you can see, the advantages we had before with taking advantage of Fiddler to help us troubleshoot, see what was being sent between the browser and the server. Now it's very simple for us to configure Fiddler to act as a man in the middle and decrypt that traffic, do its tracing. I can use all of the features I need in Fiddler to make modifications to either the upgoing or the data coming back from the server, just as I did before, and yet the traffic will still be encrypted on the way to the web server, and it will also be encrypted back to the browser as well.